There we go. So, well, welcome everybody to the fourth meeting the year of the MSU Wealth Management Association. A couple announcements we're going to run through real quick before passing it off to our friends at Northwestern Mutual. First one here is there's actually a Vanguard information session. We've mentioned that a few times. That's tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. So if anybody's still looking to get acquainted with Vanguard, it's just a general information session about their firm. It is tonight. The link is in our Google Drive if you have access to that. And if you don't have that right now, feel free to put it in the chat box and we can give you access to that. Next thing we have here is the FPA Fall Symposium. So we've mentioned this as well, but that's coming up. That's this week. So that is tomorrow and Thursday. So this is an event we've gone to in person in the past. There's a bunch of great free credits. So this is actually an event that's not designed for students. It's designed for financial advisors, full-time advisors to get CE, continual education credits, but they've invited us students to go, and they have a bunch of little hour-long seminars that you can pick and choose from, hop in on Zooms, and a lot of them sound pretty interesting. So I put a couple up there that I'm going to go to. So one tomorrow is Guide to Markets, just kind of, a guide to the, financial markets, given the current changes we're dealing with right now. And then on the 8th, Financial Planning in the Age of COVID. So if you guys want to go to that, email the address. You have Mary on the screen, info@fpamichigan.com, fpami.com, and Mary will give you the access to those. So the next one here, I actually want to hear from people in the crowd. So I've had a few people reach out about the FPA mentorship program, and some people have not heard back from their advisors yet. So this has happened. We're students. You see how many emails we get. Imagine a full-time advisor, how many students they have to go through. So in the past, some have gotten overlooked. So anyway, can anybody who has signed up for the program give us a raise of hand if they have talked to their advisor? So they've touched base with their advisor and filled out the form. So it doesn't look like anybody. I guess another way to ask this, has anybody filled out the form for the FPA mentorship program? Can I get a raise of hand of all the people who have signed up for it? Okay, awesome. Appreciate it, Jake. So it looks like you're the only one so far. So I'll reach out to you afterward. We've talked about it. We'll get you all squared away. Thank you. And that's still open to anybody who's looking to get paired up with a full-time advisor for the mentorship program. Awesome opportunity. You can find more information on our website about that. So last announcement here is the WMA team situation. So this is something new we're doing this year. I think there's been a lot of confusion on that. So for that, I apologize. But what we're aiming at with that is we're trying to make this the social aspect of WMA. So a great benefit of joining a club when you're in college is not only meeting with great employers like Northwestern Mutual, but also meeting people like me and people like the other representatives on the executive board, and networking with upperclassmen, and just getting an idea of what it's like to be a student at Broad, and just all sorts of great things. So what we're doing with WMA teams is we're putting you all on a individual team with an e-board member to try to facilitate that. So this isn't something that's designed to be any kind of major commitment at all. It's something that's just supposed to be social, meeting like once a month, if that. So just a way for us to network and outside of these meetings, and us to all get to know each other. So with that, does anybody have any questions about the teams or any comments about that?
I don't think I don't have any questions. I would have something I'd like to add, Justin. I think another purpose of this, we're as e-board members, as news team members, we're trying to grow and facilitate the organization and bring people in to fill these roles once we move on. So the more we can get people involved in these groups and these little breakouts that we have, we're able to build the organization and keep a strong membership going for years. This is a great opportunity to do that. So if you want to talk to the news team, e-board members, just use the resources in your group. It's going to set you up well for the next year.
Yeah, thank you, Oscar. Exactly. So that's still open. So I know if anybody here is, I see some new faces on this call. If you still want to join, we've updated our membership form on our homepage. So all you have to do is fill that out and click yes, you'd like to be a part of the team. You can still join that. So yeah, last one, follow us, of course, on social media, MSU at MSU WMA. And with that, I'm going to pass it off to our Spartan Journal News team. And I think Vincent's going to kick it off for us.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Justin. Thanks, Oscar. Okay. So our first story that I am doing is I am doing a story about the manufacturing growth and increasing new car sales. So this is within the automotive industry and some manufacturing as well. So as we've seen, it's been a tough spring for new car sales. If you guys haven't noticed, April car sales were really, really tough for March, and April kicked up a little bit in May. But during the pandemic, it was really hard for car manufacturers. So, but now with the pandemic restrictions going a little bit more down than it has been, more people are starting to buy new cars, and that's evident by the supply of new cars is getting a lot lower, which means that demand is obviously going to increase, which is hinting at a recovery as well. So due to consistently low interest rates, it's encouraging to see new car buyers to purchase. And the sales charts from automotive manufacturers, specifically Hyundai, Subaru, and Honda, have proven this point exactly. So after 2 quarters of the year, the third quarter of new vehicle sales are up, and it's indicating a V-shaped recovery within the industry. Along with this is indicative of the fact that U.S. manufacturing is showing more improvement and continues to rebound. But despite this, the Federal Reserve still reported a lower manufacturing activity, which is 7.3%. below its February levels. And also, supplement that fact, the Labor Department is reporting 700,000 less people working in manufacturing than before the pandemic. So even though demand is increasing, the amount of people working in manufacturing jobs is still going down. So companies reported a marked upturn in demand for plant machinery, which suggests firms are increasing their investment spending, said Chris Williamson at IHS Markit. So along with the U.S., the situation is very similar in Europe and Asia. So despite the fact that manufacturing is increasing, manufacturing jobs are not. So with that, I'll pass it on to Jake.
Thanks, Vincent. So backpacking off his point, so Tesla Incorporated, they had a new record in deliveries this last September quarter, and it's expected to be 44% above last year's prior figure. And the company in January said it aimed to deliver more than 500,000 vehicles in 2020. And that's an increase from 36% of last year's total. And so with the deliveries in the September quarter, it was mostly dominated by the Model 3 sedan and the Model Ys. And recently, the state of California issued a mandate for starting in 2035, where they're banning the sale of gas and diesel powered vehicles. So that opens up a huge market for Tesla in the future. And so Wall Street expects Tesla to report quarterly profits of record highs. The result would extend the company's longest streak in the past 5 consecutive quarters. And now I'll pass it on to Oscar.
Hello, everybody. So Oscar Garner, my story today is about the new stimulus. We start writing these stories over the weekend. So with new news today, this story is kind of old news, but I guess I'll speak on what has changed today in my story as well. So over the weekend, of course, the president was reported to be diagnosed with COVID-19. With that, a lot of House Republicans became more open-minded to the new stimulus deal. Since the May stimulus package, talks of a new deal kind of got dead in the water around August. But recently, with his diagnosis, they've become more open to it. The middle ground being that Democrats want a higher price, while the Republicans want to keep the price a little bit lower. What this means going forward, with Trump saying today that there will be no more stimulus. The implications for at least until the election's over, The implications for the stock market being that what we could probably see is a lot more volatility until there's a new stimulus conversation. So going through the next few weeks of the election without knowing what the deal with stimulus is going to be, what the turnout of the election is going to be, expect high volatility and uncertainty in the market. Without any buying power this early going into the holiday season, we could see consumer packaged goods, their industry kind of take a hit with less buying power amongst American consumers. And then the hospitality and travel industry have a lot of worries when it comes to COVID-19. The virus is still getting traction without a lot of optimism surrounding a vaccine. So without subsidies from the government, what we could see is a lack of travel, hospitality, including restaurants, with a lack of outdoor seating and outdoor spaces. When it gets colder outside, they're going to depend on indoor seating. So with COVID still being a thing, they're going to be limited in capacity. So a lot of industries are going to need money to stay afloat. And that goes into unemployment as well. Unemployment is still high. To keep payrolls, a lot of companies are going to need subsidies from the government as well. So with that being drawn out over the next few weeks, we could see a lot of volatility in the market and kind of an unstable economy for the next few weeks. And with that, I will pass it to our colleagues at Northwestern Mutual.
Cool. Thank you all. Perfect. So you want me to throw the video on here, or what's going to be best?
Yeah, whatever you prefer to do.
Cool.
I think we're getting a lot of feedback too. Can everybody who's not presenting just put on mute?
Cool. All right. Well, thank you everyone for, first of all, to the association for letting us speak. My name is Dave Herber, and I am a financial advisor out of our East Lansing office. I bounce kind of back and forth between East Lansing and Grand Rapids. I'm also what is called a college unit director. And so I work heavily with our internship program, not only throughout the hiring process and interview process, but most importantly on the development side when interns are welcome to our program. My goal is to work as a mentor, get you off to as fast of a start as possible, ensure that you have a great experience with us at Northwestern Mutual. So a little bit of background on myself, and then Sharon, if there's anything that you want to jump in on as I'm speaking, feel free to interrupt me. So I went to Michigan State as well. I was an economics major there. I was on the e-board for the Econ Association. I was a VP of finance there. And I started actually as an intern at Northwestern Mutual the summer prior to my senior year. So that would have been in 2014. I had a phenomenal experience as an intern, and that summer really started to learn about, what is Northwestern Mutual, how do they work as a company, what types of products and services do we actually offer to our clients, and really what is our business model. And so I started to learn a lot more about the industry. Through my senior year in the fall, I had an offer to go full time after graduating in May. And so I continued to intern throughout the rest of my senior year, and then made the conversion to full time after graduating in May. And so been with Northwestern Mutual for about 6.5 years now. Like I mentioned, I'm a financial advisor there and also the college unit director in the East Lansing office. Sharon, I don't know if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yes, I would love to. Can everyone hear me? Perfect. So Sharon Zalewski, I am the Director of Internship Development at Northwestern Mutual in the Metro Detroit area. So our network is made up of offices in Troy, Ann Arbor, and Mount Pleasant. And my day-to-day essentially is making sure that this internship program remains a top 10 program in financial services. That is a designation we've held by Vault Guide to Internship for 25 years in a row, something we're extremely proud of. We also hold a top 10 recognition in career development across all industries, and we are recognized as a top 100 internship across all industries across the nation. So I'm working really closely with our recruiters and our college unit directors, just like Dave, make sure that our onboarding, selection, training, and ongoing development and mentorship are really providing our interns with the chance to test drive this career and to grow as a person and as a professional. I'm also a Michigan State alum, so go green. Graduated from Michigan State in 2014 from James Madison, of all places. So for any of you who think you already know where you're going to end up, you probably don't. I never would have thought I'd end up in financial services, being a political science background, but have been with the company for going on about 4 years now, and just love the chance to talk and interact with all of you guys. So thank you so much for having us here today.
Awesome. So we have a light presentation prepared, but I remember after being in the Econ Association, like what I really wanted to get out of having companies or employers come in is just really get a good understanding for what is Northwestern Mutual as a company, what type of opportunities are available for you there. And so what I'd really like to do is just keep this as interactive as possible. I think the last thing Sharon last thing we both want to do is just sit here and talk at you. We'd love to answer any questions that you do have. So can someone out there tell me a little bit more about the Wealth Management Association? I believe you've been around for about 3 years now from what I heard, but I guess tell me what are you looking for? What would be most helpful for us to cover today so we can spend our time wisely?
Yeah, I could chime in. I guess, like you were saying, something I always want to find out is like, what does it look like coming out of college? So what does your work life look like, and what was it like transitioning from being a student, working at the Econ Association, then coming out that. In terms of the Wealth Management Association, yeah, like you said, we're pretty new. We're just here to bring in guests like you and figure out what all the different kinds of financial services are about. So we'd love to hear, like you said, about Northwestern Mutual and what is unique about your brand of financial advising, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And I'm jealous that you're around now. This would have been a club that I'd have been very interested in being in. I don't even believe like the risk management. I know that there's more like personal financial planning type classes offered now that weren't even a thing when I was there. And that was only 5-6 years ago. So perfect. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, let me give you kind of a broad overview of the internship and what that transition was like. The number one thing people always ask me, like, what was your best experience with the internship? It's that you are literally put in the real world situations. You are getting full exposure to what the job is actually like to be a financial planner, a financial advisor. Every intern that we bring on and hire, our goal, is not necessarily to have this be like a nice resume builder for you, or it's not the type of internship where you're getting people coffee or donuts or things like that. You are actually doing the real deal as to what I actually do day to day as a full-time advisor. However, we know you're in college and you have associations and Greek life or whatever it may be that you're involved in. And so obviously the expectations are a little bit lower because you've got a bunch of other stuff actually going on. So what I like, getting back to what I was saying, what I loved about it is that I was totally able to test drive the career while I was still in college, really figuring out what I wanted to do long term. And like I mentioned earlier, really getting to know like why is Northwestern Mutual different than other companies? Because there are a lot of different companies out there, and there's a lot of really good companies out there, quite frankly. And so that was the best part about the internship, is it totally set me up and I knew exactly what I was jumping into when I accepted that offer to go full time. So as far as kind of day to day for me now, like I said, I've been around for about 6.5 years. So it's a little bit different once you get past the 5-year or so mark. In the beginning, it is a lot of, build, grow a client base, and make sure that you obviously are working with enough people so that you can stick around and survive in the industry. I'm still absolutely in that mode where I'm looking to take on new clients and build and meet new people, but I've also got, a couple hundred clients now at this point that I need to maintain great relationships with, and make sure that everything is going well with them, still, right? So staying up to date, because at Northwestern Mutual, we take a complete relational approach. So we are not there to show up with clients and say, hey, here's this insurance policy, you should buy it, and we're not going to talk to you again. Or we don't show up and say, hey, here's this hot stock or this hot fund that we think you should invest in, and not talk to you again, right? What we do is actual planning. And as people's life continue to progress, their financial needs are going to change as well. And we want to be there every single step of the way to help them, as life progresses, like I mentioned. So Day to day, I guess as an intern, I'll start there. You really have three main jobs that you need to be doing to have a consistent internship and a good experience. First and foremost, you got to jump on the phone and be calling people, right? And the reason that you're making those phone calls is to set up your calendar so you can obviously eventually have meetings with those people. The third thing that you need to do, right? You got to call people, have the meetings. Third thing you got to do is you need to prospect, right? You need to really explore your market and your connections that you have to make sure that you can get recommended or introduced to other people to continue to grow your business and get in front of. Now, it's very different as far as if you're interning in the summer or if you're in during the school year, because you've obviously got different schedules. I can guarantee you it is the most flexible internship you will come upon, because you literally build your own schedule around all the other obligations that you have going on. So like for me, I had a pretty nice schedule. I think I had Monday, Wednesday, and a Friday class. So I would devote either, a full day Thursday or full day Tuesday to the internship. And that's what I was doing, is making those phone calls, making sure my calendar was set up for the next couple of weeks, and then getting together with people and sharing with them, what we do at Northwestern Mutual, how we could potentially work together. Now, lastly, to kind of finish up with your question is why I love Northwestern Mutual. I'm still at Northwestern Mutual is because of the absolute holistic approach that we take to financial planning. So our two main pillars, right? The way that we're compensated as advisors absolutely is going to be through insurance and through investments, right? We're going to get a commission based on the insurance products that we sell. And there's either an asset-based fee for our investment advice on the money that we're managing, or for smaller account sizes, there might be a commission to make a trade within that client's account. So those are the two main pillars, but we talk about a heck of a lot more than that. And just to give you kind of an overall view, is we'll talk about everywhere from debt management, helping people save for major purchases, saving for their children's education, helping them understand and make sense of their benefits that they have through work, because those can be very, very confusing. On the insurance side, the main products that we work with would be things like life insurance, disability insurance, long-term care, and fixed annuities. And then in the investment space, that could be opening a new account for people and helping them to save over time and get investing for maybe the short term, midterm, and definitely the long term. That could be rolling over previous accounts from other employers or from other advisors that they might not work with anymore. So we work heavily in the accumulation phase, but we also work with our retirees that are in a distribution phase, right? So making sure that depending on taxes, market volatility, the economic environment, making sure that we're drawing from the right accounts, and making sure that we're able to maintain and not outlive our money, right? Be as efficient as possible as we're in there. And we want to make sure that our clients are well diversified and have a lot of their risks taken care of, not only as they're growing through life, but as they're in retirement, making sure a lot of those risks are taken care of. So our process, like I said, is super relational. The first time we show up and meet with people, it is not at all about us. All we are simply doing is, first of all, just sharing, what does Northwestern Mutual do? So giving them a little bit of info like I just did for all of you. And most importantly, just listening to them and figuring out what is most important to you. What's on your mind? What are some things that, keep you up at night from a financial standpoint? If we do uncover there are some areas where we could potentially work together, then I get back together with my team. We put together what's called a PX, which is called our planning experience. And that is a proprietary planning software that only Northwestern Mutual has, that is relatively new, a couple years new. And it is basically action steps for people. Not only now, what do we need to start doing to help hit your goals? And these plans are totally catered to the conversation we had with these potential clients. So action steps as time goes on, right? How can we start, having you make steps in the right direction? And it also includes an analysis. So it shows people exactly what they're on track for if they keep doing what they're doing. And based on what their goals are, it shows us what are some gaps and what would it take to actually fill those gaps. So overall, relational planning process. So that's why I'm with Northwestern Mutual, is because whoever it is that we get in front of, we can typically become relevant because we work down so many different areas and we're good at it as well, right? We're number one in the insurance space, and we've been a top 10 broker dealer. That bounces back and forth. I think we're 7th right now in broker dealer. So we manage a lot of money. So we do both sides of it really well, and also work on other topics that we don't necessarily get paid to work with clients on, but as fiduciaries, we're going to act in their best interest and talk to them about everything in their financial situation. So I know that was, probably five minutes there, but Sharon, anything that you would add on top of that?
You did a really great job, Dave. I think at giving a 30,000 foot view, maybe 15,000. It wasn't super ambiguous. I think you did a great job. Some things I'd just like to add and echo what Dave said. When he talks about this comprehensive or holistic financial planning philosophy, in 2019, the firms across the nation, we were 51% investment services and products and 49% risk management. So when we talk about a balanced approach to financial security, we mean it in practice as well. So it's a very balanced approach and a balanced practice across the country. And then I think another thing that Dave was alluding to, and I'm sure you're going to get there at some point, is just that when you're doing all these meetings and getting to test drive this career, a lot of it's going to be done with veteran advisors in the office that we call joint work. So you'll go through training and you'll get licensed and you'll have weekly ongoing meetings and mentor meetings and small group meetings. But I think one of the most beneficial ways that you learn in this program is when you're actually doing these meetings face-to-face or through the screen with prospective clients, and you're getting to do them with some of the best financial advisors in the business. We have a whole roster of individuals that we will help you get in front of when you set a meeting, and you'll get to work with people who've been with the company 3 years, 5 years, 20 years, who primarily work in investments or primarily work with dentists or who do a comprehensive plan for every client they meet. But point of the story is there's a lot of ways to be successful in this business. There's different language and strategy and just ways to interact with clients. And we want to give you a full-fledged opportunity to be exposed to all the great professionals we have within our networks. So I definitely want to just make sure that that is highlighted because I do think it's a unique aspect of our program. You'll be working with veteran advisors, but you're not working for them. You are having the opportunity to build your own practice as a student. And then if you go full time, like Dave did, and like 1 out of 3 of our interns do, you already have a book of business that exists. You're not starting from ground zero, trying to scratch up business through cold calls and door-to-door sales. So a really unique opportunity in that respect.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll just add with that, with the joint work piece and working with other advisors is 99% of what I know now and use in practice has been what I have learned from working with resources from throughout our offices. Because when you get started, we will put you through training. You'll absolutely know on a day-to-day basis what you need to be doing. But when it actually comes to being in practice and why we make certain recommendations for clients and how do we actually put together a financial plan for people that fits what their goals and needs are, that is where you're going to learn a ton by working with other financial advisors and their teams. And I did as much of that as I possibly could when I got started. And I took a lot of different pieces from different advisors that I liked. And I eventually, made it kind of into my own style. So I do a lot of different meetings on my own now, but still to this day, 6.5 years into it, if I am in front of a business owner or someone where the case might be a little bit more complex, I will ask an advisor that's been in the business 15, 20 years still to join me to this day, because there's just always more that I can learn and a much higher likelihood that this person, this business might actually end up being my client because I'm bringing an expert that works in that space each and every day. So the amount of resources that you have through other advisors was a huge eye opener to me, even as an intern, the help that you have to have people that are going to help you build your business. So what questions can we answer? I know that was one, and that was a 10-minute response, but what else is going on through your heads, and anything that would be helpful tonight?
Dave, I have a question for you. So you mentioned earlier that you've been working to kind of build relationships now that you're kind of out of the beginning stage of like building your business. How is the pandemic and everything being virtual, how has that kind of affected you building those relationships? And then what kind of strategies have you used to maybe like combat that?
Yeah, so I actually love this question because it's a lot of good news, right? So through a very crazy and what a lot of people would say pretty bad year, I've actually been busier than ever with my practice. And busy as a financial advisor typically means really good things. Beforehand, I already did the majority of my meetings, probably over 50%. I did those meetings either over Zoom or Skype or just simply a phone call. The other half I would have done in person. When because I have clients in, I think, 15 some odd states other than Michigan. And obviously for most of those, I'm not, flying or driving out to meet with those people. A lot of those stuff we were already doing virtually, and then even within Michigan doing stuff virtually as well. When kind of the pandemic hit and a lot of things got shut down, a lot of different things happened. The simple move for me to continue to stay busy and be able to get in front of people and to stay up to date with current clients is that all I had to do was those meetings that were scheduled to be in person, I simply had to move them to be virtual. And that was no surprise to the people that I was set to meet with, because that's pretty much how everything went with their jobs and with the way that they're interacting with friends and family. So it was a very, very easy transition, and my practice was already set up, to run from a virtual standpoint. What I also noticed happened, though, is that I had more time and opportunity to meet with people because I didn't have to, there was no travel time to go from meeting to meeting. More people were working from home and could meet with me during the day, whereas sometimes I would have to wait until they, if it's a couple, right, have to wait till they're both home from work. So I might be having meetings after 5. So people had more time and I had more time as well. And the more people that you can get in front of, obviously, the more opportunity that you have as an advisor. But lastly, which was, I guess, cool to me, is that people really started to see even more value with what we do as financial planners, because they realized that sometimes bad things do actually happen, and it's a really good thing to have a plan for it. So, when things were great, unemployment was super low, right? You're not worried about if you're going to lose your job or have an emergency fund and things like that. With those clients that did end up taking our recommendation years ago, they were already set up for something bad like this to happen, where if they did lose their job, we had an emergency fund set up or things along those lines. And so a lot of people realized, hey, I literally had people from 2 years ago reach back out to me and say, hey, Dave, that didn't end up moving forward my recommendation a couple years ago. They reached out to me and asked me to have a meeting because they realized how important this was and wish that they would have a couple years ago. And so that's really how the pandemic has, I guess, has changed things. But it has still been, I guess, from a business standpoint, a good and busy year. You just have to make small adjustments to make sure that you can continue to move forward and keep building.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to add a little bit more there, we're in an interesting industry where things are really good and people have a ton of discretionary income. We often see an uptick in business because they have more funds to invest in places they may not have felt they were comfortable doing previously. And likewise, like what Dave was saying, when people are struggling a little bit or they've been faced with the reality that we can't plan for everything, we often also see an increase in business. We see an increase in the people that we're helping. So it's been an interesting couple months, I'm sure, for you guys just as much as it has been for us. But it feels really great to work for a company where I can, say that we've actually made an increased impact on people's lives, and our advisors are meeting with just as many, if not more people. And even from an infrastructure standpoint for the internship, we had a really successful summer just transitioning a lot of the content and development we typically do in person over computer screens. And we did a lot of supplemental activity the best we could to make up for the missing piece of socialization and in-person engagement. But we had one of our most productive classes in the Metro Detroit area. And I know Dave, speaking with Angelica, the recruiter in your office, you guys had a great summer as well. So I think we like to pride ourselves as being a flexible and adaptive company. And this certainly has proven that, if nothing else, these last couple of months.
Yep. I was just proud with, you have these conversations throughout interviews and things like that with our prospective interns. And it was just awesome that we were still able to offer that opportunity to them to continue with the internship through all the craziness, because I know there's a ton of companies out there that just simply weren't able to do it because they didn't have the means to do things from a virtual standpoint. So very thankful we've been able to continue, rolling full steam ahead through everything that's gone on. It's just you make adaptations, and a lot of stuff's on the computer for now. What else?
I guess I could go again if nobody else. So I guess I have a two-part question for you. First, you've been touching on the internship. Could you maybe tell us a little bit more about the current opportunities that you guys have at Northwestern Mutual? Are you guys hiring this semester? Are you hiring next semester? And then I guess, Dave, do you mind telling us a little bit about how you want to setting up your schedule? I know, like me in the virtual environment, that's a big thing. I have to keep track of my own time, basically. So I'm sure we could gain some insight on how you went about that.
Sure. Sharon, why don't you talk about the opportunity? That's right up your alley.
Perfect. So we have a year-round internship program. So the financial advising internship is available each semester, essentially. So we typically have a training class in September, another one in January, and then another one in May. And those roughly follow the same schedule that you guys would have classes for a semester for. At the end of every semester and throughout the semester, really, you're going to be consistently evaluating how things are going with your mentor, with your director of development, with your recruiter. And if at the end of that semester, we mutually feel like it's a great fit, you are going to have the opportunity to continue that internship onto the next semester. So we do have interns who are with us for a year or 2 or 3, even potentially, but those are the main recruiting periods. We recruit for September, January, and then May. So right now, I know I can speak for my office, and I'm sure Angelica's as well. We're looking for interns for the January class or the spring semester, as well as the May class or summer semester. So everyone has a little bit of a difference on availability based on how many credits they're taking this spring. So summer classes usually are largest, but we do typically have anywhere between 10 to 12, 15 interns who do the spring and fall semester as well.
Perfect. And just to clarify your question, you were asking about how I guess how I figured my schedule out. Is that how I did it when I was in the intern role? Is that what you're referring to with class and everything going on?
Yeah, pretty much. Now we're not going in person, so we have to all be setting our own schedules, so to speak. So yeah, exactly.
Yep. So so what I did, and it really still is relatively the same. Now our office in East Lansing is open, but not to the public. So interns and advisors and staff are very welcome to come into the office whenever it is if they feel comfortable with it. We follow all the guidelines to make sure we're doing things safely. So there is still office space to go into now. That was closed down, obviously, for a few months. But whether it's virtual or you're going into the office, what we do with each intern individually is, when you're just getting started, you get done with training. I sit down with each intern individually, and we look through their calendar on a week-to-week basis. So we figure out, hey, when do you have class? When do you have extracurriculars? When do you have whatever it is that you need to be at? And we look at an actual calendar with all those things, and we build what we call an ideal calendar with the interns. And so figuring out when are times during the week that you're planning on being in the office or having meetings or just working in general, because you can do a lot of this stuff from home, right? You don't need to be in the office to do it. Now, we recommend being in the office because there's a lot more resources and advisors and people that you can learn from, and like I said, just resources in general. So what I did is I just worked with my mentor and figured out, hey, when are those times that you can plan on me working and being productive in the internship? And so that was the first thing that I did. And I would put that in my actual planner, like, hey, this is when I'm scheduled to be at work, just as if I would respect, hey, this is when I'm scheduled to be in class. So I tried to follow that ideal calendar as well. And so I know, hey, when is this person or that person technically supposed to be working throughout the week, and I can do my best to help hold them accountable. Now, I know in college, weeks are different where you might have a couple midterms or whatever it is. And so if you aren't actually working in those times when we've kind of scheduled you to, don't worry, we don't pull the plug on you or anything like that. But we do build, like I said, that ideal calendar and hope that you can follow it as close as possible, because you truly do make your own schedule. And us as mentors, what we can do is really help try and hold you accountable so you are getting the things done that you've set as goals and things that you'll need to do to be successful as an intern. So working with my mentor was the best way to figure out how the heck do I balance all this stuff? Because obviously things are really, really busy when you're a student, especially if you're taking more credits than others. So hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Hey, Dave, I have a question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
All right, sweet. Back to you, Sharon. With internship opportunities, I'm a freshman. I'm kind of running into the problem with these being like requirements for these interns. Now at Northwestern Mutual, would there be requirements being a freshman, or is it a age or a grade or whatever?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sharon, go ahead.
Sorry, Dave. So we technically can recruit all grade levels. If we see a stellar freshman who just checks all of our boxes, we're not going to turn that person away. We are looking more so, I think, in a lot of cases for soft skills and coachability and motivation and interpersonal skills than we are hard and fast previous experience in the industry. That being said, we do have preference for juniors and seniors, and then sophomores and freshmen would be usually, I don't want to say last, but usually last. But that being said, again, if you're the kind of candidate that's checking all of our boxes, we're going to look at those first and foremost over what school year that you're in. But because of the level of responsibility, autonomy, we typically find that upperclassmen do better in this type of program. But that doesn't exclude you from applying. So if you're interested, please do so.
I will. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, Dave, I have a quick question for you. So you kind of, and Sharon as well, you guys kind of touched on this a little bit with the internships and stuff like that. But in terms of the summer internships and the spring internships, does the duration differ? Are the roles different, or how does that work? Can you go a little deeper into that?
Yeah, so roles are totally the same. The only real difference is that typically people have more flexible schedules in the summer, whereas maybe you're only taking either no classes or only a couple classes compared to like a full-time student. But the role, everything like that is exactly the same as far as what you're doing on a day-to-day basis or week-to-week basis from semester to semester. So let's see. Yeah, they're all, I guess each training program starts as kind of like a 3-month long thing. But if you're doing the things that you need to do, it's a good mutual fit. Just like kind of what happened with me is I was offered to continue to intern throughout the school year, as long as I was just hitting the expectations that we mutually agreed upon for me to be doing the things that I needed to do for the internship. So roles don't change. It's just your schedule changes a little bit. Obviously, I went from working a lot in the summer. I only had, I think, one online class that summer that I started. So I just went kind of all in. Some weeks I worked 25 hours a week. Some weeks I worked 50, and it all just depend on how many meetings did I set and how crazy busy was my calendar. But I had the autonomy to create that calendar, right? So it was totally up to me. When I got to the fall semester, obviously things really shifted down because you've got 20, 25 hours of just class and homework stuff that you need to do each and every week. And so nothing changes. It's just the amount of time that you typically have for the internship decreases when you're in the busy school semesters. So I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Sure.
And to Dave's point too, he hit the nail on the head. That conversation with your mentor where you go over that ideal calendar, that may take place at the beginning of every single semester. So you're not locked in, to the same schedule or expectations necessarily. Those will be ongoing conversations as well. We want this to work for you as well as us. You're a student before you're an intern. So we need to make sure we're of course accommodating those obligations.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Madeline Minnick, and I had a question. So it sounds like, Dave, you're in it for 6 years. Sharon, I think you said maybe 4. And there's a lot of talk about continuing the internship. What unique ways does Northwestern Mutual invest in their interns to really grow them into full-time employees?
You want me to take that, or what do you want to do, Sharon?
You can kick us off. I love this question. So you can start off, cool. And if you miss anything that I'm excited about, I'll make sure to jump in after.
Sure. So I kind of mentioned this already in an earlier question. What I loved about the internship was that I knew exactly what I was jumping into from a full-time career standpoint. And it gave me the opportunity to figure out, first of all, do I even enjoy this work whatsoever? Second of all, am I any good at it, right? Can I actually do it? And third of all, can I see myself doing it on a long-term basis, right? So I really got to test drive it. As I mentioned, every single intern that we hire, our goal is to develop them into full-time advisors. This is something that they choose to do as a career. Obviously, in any financial services firm, when our advisors are doing well and our offices are growing, that is good for the company overall. And so we have total motivation to make sure that you have as good of an experience as possible so we can help grow our office and help build our company and our firm. And so like an example that I had, there was a home office workshop that I actually got sent to as an intern. I got flown to Milwaukee. There's actually 2 I got sent to as an intern. Got flown to Milwaukee for more development. And one of those was because I was in the top tiers of the interns throughout the country. So there was a big intern gathering with seminars and learning and a bunch of fun at night. And then another one was more for a leadership route that I got flown out there. So there's not only seminars, but there are just literally resources everywhere. And the number one resource that you will have is the other advisors in your offices. that by far is the way that you're going to grow and develop the most. And then the best part is you've got a mentor that you can go to for literally anything. I truly try with all of my interns that I mentor to not just have a business relationship, but a personal relationship too, because obviously things need to be good outside of life and things like that to do well and enjoy the internship. And so I guess the best word to describe it is you've got resources everywhere. What I couldn't believe as an intern is literally whatever problem that I ran into, or whatever question I had, I could go to a mentor, another advisor, a staff person in the office. I could even call the home office in Milwaukee, and someone would help me out with whatever it is. So that is the best part, is that you are totally treated like a full-time advisor, even though you're just in the, quote unquote internship role. So it truly is trying out the real deal, and you've got opportunities and resources everywhere.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Going directly off that, he mentioned some of those conferences and clinics that Dave was able to attend as an intern, and that's an opportunity that all of our interns across the country have. And I think it really emphasizes that we want our interns to feel like they're part of the culture. So there's recognition and competitions and clinics and learning opportunities for our students. I'm not sure how many other companies invest that heavily in, sending a bunch of 20-year-olds, no offense, but to Milwaukee, to a corporate headquarters to have spend 2 days with experts in the field. But I feel like that's something that sets us apart. And then from a tangible standpoint, I think the opportunity to get licensed as a student is a huge one. So all of our interns start off by getting licensed with their Michigan Life Accident and Health License. And then when you reach a certain level of productivity, typically about 10 lives or 10 plans implemented, we will sponsor you to get fully securities licensed. So that's your SAE exam, your Series 7, and your Series 63. I know we had 5 interns in the Metro Detroit network who got fully securities licensed as a student in 2020. Pretty incredible opportunity to be fully licensed through FINRA while you're still in school. And then just a couple more things here. Over 50% of our leadership nationwide is made up of former interns. Not only that, but our highest producers on average are former interns. So when we're bringing students on, we're really investing time and money and resources, because we know that our interns are the future leaders and best producers in our firm across the country. So Dave talked about this earlier. This isn't an internship to get coffee. This is an internship where we want to really start pouring into you. And then hopefully there's longevity there. So I kind of went a little far into detail there, but I think those are some of the main things to hit on.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up, because one thing that I just thought was friggin' awesome. I'm in my senior year. I'm about to graduate. I'm in the process of already building a business before I've graduated, right? Those clients that you take on as interns, they're still your clients if you go full time that you continue to work with, right? So you're already building that base while you're in school. And I was studying for my Series 7 and 63, and Northwestern Mutual was paying for my study materials and for me to take that exam. And you need to be sponsored for most of those exams by a company. And so that's just a huge opportunity in itself, is you can actually graduate and be fully registered to represent insurance and also to manage investments. And so that's just another opportunity that you have when you're still in school. So that was a big eye opener for me as well.
Yes, I have one more question if nobody else does. So, what does Northwestern Mutual look for in candidates? What are you guys looking for when you're coming to campuses, coming to club meetings like this? Are there certain traits? So, what would a student, a successful advisor be? What are you guys looking for in students, if that makes sense?
Sharon, go ahead. We can start off.
Sure. So first and foremost, being coachable is huge. This industry is giant. We'll put you through training and you'll have mentorship meetings, but none of that matters if you're not willing to, number one, be passionate and seek out resources and learn on your own. And number two, take the feedback and the teachings that we're giving you and actually implement them. We could tell you to do something till we're blue in the face, but if you're not willing to take that feedback and then put that feedback to practice, you're going to have a tough time really learning the ropes, because this is a in-depth and extensive business. I mean, if you could learn everything in 2 days, everyone would do it, but that's not the case. There really needs to be a lot of ongoing engagement and willingness to learn. So my favorite way to phrase this is we're looking for people who are sponges, people who want to be successful and who are willing to seek out resources, take feedback, and really be coached by people who have been successful, who've sat where they've sat and now run a full-time planning practice. I think that coachability is super important. Obviously, that can typically be seen through things like athletics. If you're part of a club, if you've progressed into a leadership role, if you've ever had a promotion in a job, I don't care if that's at McDonald's or Starbucks or in your former internship, all of those things to me exhibit self-motivation, coachability, and a desire to achieve, which are really important characteristics to be successful in this. The other thing I think that's really important is your interpersonal skills. You don't have to be the most extroverted, chatty person out there. That's not what we mean by interpersonal skills. It's just the ability to form relationships with others and embody our core values that include things like integrity, so that when you're sitting across from a prospective client, you're able to build that bond, gain that trust, and then be that respected go-to advisor, hopefully for the rest of their lives as their lives change. I like to joke that I can teach you what an annuity is, but I can't teach you how to form relationships. So I would say that coachability, self-motivation, and then those interpersonal skills, or the desire and passion to work with others, are all really important.
Yeah, you took pretty much all my answers. I would say the exact same thing, along with the coachability. That is super, super important. You have to know that your mentors and people that are your resources throughout the office, like, we truly have your best interests in mind. We want you to have the best experience out there. So what I did as an intern, I was just like, look, this person has been successful in this business. They're doing, really good things. If they're telling me to do something that they did in the past, I'm absolutely just going to do it and trust that their word is good. And obviously it did turn out and work. And so the coachability portion is huge. I just tried to do what the successful people were doing and mirror them. And that obviously worked out for me as an intern. So that is a huge, huge, huge one. Don't try and, create the wheel or that will be very difficult.
Yeah, and just one more thing there too. We obviously, finance majors and business majors are typically the majority of interns and full-time career changers that come to us, but we by no means are not open to other careers or other educational backgrounds. We have people who join us in their 40s that were nurses or teachers or engineers, or we have students who are really successful in our internship program that have a social science background. So what you're learning in Broad is going to be so important to you, and I'm sure it will impact your lives moving forward, whether you're with us, with someone else, or not in finance at all. But a lot of times it's also those soft skills and those experiences where you're challenged and grow that will lend themselves to being successful in a professional setting, again, whether with us, whether in finance or whether elsewhere.
Awesome. Thank you. So does anybody else have any questions for our friends at Northwestern Mutual?
I got like a wrap-up question, kind of. So like, obviously I'm interested in the internship, but whether someone gets it or not, what are things that a finance major could do that you would recommend that would advance their career, things that we should be doing now regardless of the internship that you'd recommend?
Yeah, I can kick this one off. First and foremost, I would say challenge yourself and put yourself out there. Do things that make you uncomfortable. Run for that e-board position. Try to be on a leadership role. Join that new club, even if your friends won't go with you. The more connections you're able to make and the more experiences that you can speak to, they're typically going to help you grow as a person and make you stand out as a candidate. And then I would say in that same tier, network. I got my job with Northwestern Mutual by a freak accident of going to a networking event that I didn't want to go to, that I felt awkward at the entire time. And guess what? I talked to someone I never would have met or talked to otherwise. You never know what kind of opportunities are going to be presented to you based on who you're speaking with. It could be something you never in a million years that you'd be interested in, but how do you know until you talk to someone and try to find out? So don't limit yourself, challenge yourself, and really put yourself out there. And you never know what kind of opportunities you're going to be presented with.
Yep, I would echo that. Make as many connections as you can and keep good relationships with people because you never know what will come out of it. It's insane, the people that are my clients now that I met from previous jobs or things like that you never would have imagined, but now here we are. So connections are obviously very important regardless of whatever you go into.
Yeah, don't unnecessarily burn bridges. After you have that last class with a professor you don't like, don't send them, a nasty email saying that you didn't like them. Keep those connections as much as you can.
All right. Thank you guys for your time.
Yeah, if there aren't any questions, thank you guys very much. I guess open the floor to you. Is there anything else you want like to mention? Anything we didn't cover today, or?
Just making sure that you all can get in touch with us if you're interested. As we kind of mentioned, Sharon's more the Metro Detroit area, and then we are pretty much East Lansing over to the west side. So what would be the best way we can get you emails to send resumes to or get applications into as well?
Yeah, so both. I'll definitely be in touch with you guys after this. If you wanted to too, you could also put your emails in the chat if you wanted to, if you felt comfortable. Yeah, people reaching out to you directly, but totally up to you. I'm going to send out contacts on Thursday.
Okay, and yeah, it looks like Sharon just put in our intro. Angelica, who I work with in our office, she works in the kind of the initial reaching out throughout the recruiting process. So she would be best. I'll type in my email address as well, just in case anyone has any questions. I'm obviously here to be your resource in whatever way I can. So.
Yeah. Just echo Dave, my email my email's in the chat as well as Angelica. So feel free to reach out to either of us directly as well as Dave. We also do have our post on Handshake. So feel free to apply through there if you'd like. We're on LinkedIn. So whatever we can do to help you guys, if you have further questions, whether it's about this internship or general resume review, we want to help you guys as much as we can. We're all Spartans. So let us know what we can do, and we'd love to stay in touch and hear from you.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. We do have your Handshake posting on our job board on our website. So we got that on there as well. Yeah. Well, Dave, Sharon, thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having us. Appreciate all the questions, and best of luck as the semester continues.
Yeah. Our pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.